Today's guest is Jake Chapman, an LA-based vibraphonist, pianist, and mallet percussionist, blending jazz, hip-hop, R&B, and more.
Welcome, Jake, to the Artist Conversation, the Century
Thank
of
you so
Rhythm
much.
podcast.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, we love to have you. So I'm going to jump right into it, Jake, with talking about your origin and identity. So when did you first realize mallet instruments weren't just a section in the band, but your voice and the thing that you wanted to be known for?
What a great question. Um, that's been an ongoing process, I would say. I discovered mallet percussion really in middle school. Um, I had been playing in sixth grade in the concert band, percussion,
Hmm.
snare drum, and some mallet percussion and timpani and bass drum and stuff like that. But I also did after school percussion ensemble, which
Mm.
opened me up to the world of vibraphones and marimbas. And when it came time to audition for jazz band at the end of sixth grade, um, I had already been playing piano for about 6 years at this point. That was my first instrument. So
Mm.
I auditioned on piano, but the jazz band director at my middle school asked me if I wanted to try vibes because there were three other pianists who auditioned as well. And so I said, sure, I was down. And, I definitely took a liking to it from the beginning. It was a fun instrument. Um, I wouldn't say that from the beginning I knew that that was my voice and that was what I wanted to be known
Mhm.
for, as you say. But definitely having played mallet percussion for about 20 years now, especially vibraphone, I think it's safe to say that I've definitely built a large part of my life and creativity and musicality around the vibraphone. And so, yeah, I do think that I've come into this idea that I do have a voice on the vibraphone and I do use the vibraphone to get something across that is personal. Um
Mm.
and you know I try not to think of these things like what do I want to be known for.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do, but I think the best stuff happens when it's just what is exciting me in the moment. Not what's going to be shared, and don't worry about that yet. Just when I'm focused on the here and now and making music in the as present as possible, that's truly when I think the best results come for me and also generally, I would say.
That's awesome. And so after sixth grade, you said that these three other pianists showed up. I mean, I'm just saying showed up as in they were there, and then you were already a pianist too, but at the same time you were playing all these other things. Um, Tell us a little bit after high school. Um, how did the path for the vibraphone? Where did that start after high
Sure,
school? How did that
sure.
progress?
Absolutely. I'll quickly comment on high school just because I was introduced to it in middle school,
Got it. Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's when I started jazz band in seventh grade, and that's when I started jazz vibraphone.
Mm.
Um, and in high school, I continued playing vibes and
Mm.
was also playing piano. And I would say, um, I did take some vibraphone lessons, and I did take a few jazz piano lessons as well. But after a bit of time, I was more or less like keeping my piano chops up and like progressing forward on my own, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to say that in middle school, guitar, I would have considered guitar my main instrument, the instrument that I was most excited about. And that continued into high school, so that even though I was playing jazz from all years of high school, I was definitely practicing guitar, I would say the most, I guess, in ninth grade and maybe into 10th grade. But definitely by the summer after 10th grade, my focus had shifted pretty completely to jazz. And
Mm.
so I wasn't playing guitar much anymore. And vibraphone had definitely taken center stage by this point, as well as piano.
Oh.
If I have to think back, I actually played quite a bit of piano as well in high school, and I still do to this day. So, you know, and in the second half of high school, I knew jazz was something I wanted to pursue absolutely. And so that led me to thinking, okay, I want to go to New York. And so I applied to Columbia University because I went to
Hmm.
a pretty academically rigorous high school in LA. It's called Harvard
Hmm.
Westlake.
Hmm.
And that put me in an environment where academics and prestige were very were celebrated, were emphasized. And so on the one hand, I wanted to be in New York for jazz, but I also cared about, getting a solid college experience, great education. And
Right, right.
so I wasn't as interested in going to music school because I wanted I wanted a broader education. I wanted the more traditional college experience. Um, and also I would say at the end of high school, I wasn't totally sure how my life would unfold or I
Yeah,
mean,
of
no one
course.
can,
No
or
one can.
exactly like what did I want to do exactly? That that was still a bit of a mystery to me, and I wasn't thinking really far ahead, if I have to
Hmm.
be honest. So I ended up going to Columbia, and I didn't know what I was going to study going in, but I ended up majoring in music and
Hmm.
minoring in computer science, as well as doing their other core requirements, which are pretty extensive. But there were some fantastic musicians there that I was able to play with. And I was also able to do the Columbia Juilliard Exchange, which let
Oh,
me
wow.
do jazz ensemble and lessons at Juilliard at the
That's
same
pretty
time.
cool.
Yeah, so it was an awesome experience to get a taste of the conservatory environment.
Right, right.
I because like I said, I didn't want to be in that environment for 4 years. Nothing against it. I just wanted the breadth,
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
college experience could give. But it was nice to be around that environment for sure. Um, Now, my last year at Columbia, I ended
Uh-huh.
up writing music and lyrics for the Varsity Show, which is the annual musical.
Hmm.
It dates back to the late 19th century, and I had done, I had been in shows in throughout middle school and high school, and I even did a little bit of acting in college.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this was my first time being on the writing side of a musical, um, and I really took to it. Um, I think my jazz background was a great um it was a great primer, I would say, to
Mm.
be able to write forms, to write lyrics that fell on melodies correctly with the right scansion and emphasis and rhymes and all this stuff.
Mm.
And I really, really took a liking to it, so much so that that's how I was imagining my life going forward. And so the reason I ended up staying in New York City after graduating from Columbia is because I wanted to be in New York to pursue musical theater writing. Um, and I ended up doing this 2-year program at BMI called the BMI Musical Theater Workshop
Mhm.
for composers and lyricists. And that kept me busy as a writer. But after 2 years of doing a lot of musical theater writing and studying that, as well as playing keys in a band and also doing part-time tutoring as my day job, test prep, SAT, ACT, stuff like that.
Mhm.
I really missed playing, kind of being on the scene. That's
Huh.
something I never really had got into in New York City. And so I kind of turned on the jets for playing vibes and trying to get myself out there. And
Got it.
this was in spring of 2018 where this transition started to happen. And since I didn't have gigs or anything really, I started busking somehow.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
in 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 New York City?
yeah. So I was living in Washington Heights,
Uh-huh.
and I would pack up my vibraphone onto a hand truck, a rock and roller. I would wheel it like up the hill and then down the hill and then use the elevator to get on the A train, then take the A train down to Washington Square Park,
Uh-huh.
and then get off the elevator, roll over to Washington Square and play for hours, solo
Wow.
or duo or like with whoever was there.
That's amazing.
Later that I know it was a wonderful time. Later on in the summer and fall, I ended up playing a lot of duo with my friend Jasper Dutz, who's a great woodwind player, mostly saxes and clarinets and flute. And we did a lot of busking, especially in Washington Square Park, and then later on in the subways. But we definitely preferred playing outside. But yeah, all this playing was great. It was great to just get out there and perform, and you never know who you're going to meet. It led to meeting musicians. It led to getting videos. It's actually when I started doing Instagram as well. So my first
Right.
Instagram videos are busking videos.
I need to go all the way down over there.
Yeah, you have to go way down. I wish there was a way to just go back, because you just have to whenever I'm looking for an old video, I just have to like scroll and scroll, and I'm just like talking to the person that I'm with. I'm just like scrolling. Like,
that's amazing.
I'm not even looking at my phone. I'm just like, this is just going to take a couple minutes. But yeah, I found it really rewarding to play outside. And I still resonate with the experience of playing in unusual places. Right. And just not having a barrier between me and audience, and also like having an audience form spontaneously, not because they came to see me, but because they happen to be there and want to stay and want to listen. So yeah, then later on in 2018, as well as into 2019, I was gigging a lot in New York City, and summer 2019, that was the first time that I got to see what it was like to be a full-time musician in New York City.
Interesting.
And so I know I'm just giving you my whole like
no, that's great. This
my
is great.
story
I mean,
through the vibes right now.
I can almost visualize it from the middle school to the high school to the to Columbia computer science major in music and Juilliard exchange and the busking and and the subway and the Washington Park. I mean, it's just I can visualize the whole thing.
Absolutely. I guess let me just do a quick continuation just to give you the whole timeline. But yeah, somewhere in 2019, I had started to think about what if I spend some time in LA? That's where I'm from. And I was interested to see like what opportunities might arise, what I might get into if I was here in LA. My family, so that's me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. We have a family band called the Vaughn Chaps. And in late 2019, December specifically, we were hired to do a tour in China, a 19 city concert hall tour.
Wow.
5 weeks in China, and which was quite an amazing experience to be of a tour of that scale with my family. And it was just a wonderful way to close out the year, to close out the decade. And it was really around that time that I started shifting my home base, I would say, to LA. So by the time early 2020 came around, I was mostly back in LA, but had plans to go to New York regularly, like every 2 or 3 months. And I started this bi-coastal experience, which was great, it felt really good to go to New York for 2.5 weeks, play a bunch of gigs, maybe a little recording, and then go back to LA. That's when COVID hit. And so COVID made me really make the decision to fully commit to LA at that time. It's just what made sense. And definitely during COVID, that's when my content creation accelerated. I really turned toward making content and building my YouTube and TikTok. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm still doing content to this day, but it's more Instagram focused.
Very
and
cool.
yeah, just since like 2021, I've been on the LA scene a lot of
Hmm.
gigs, recording sessions, making content, doing my own original music, recording and releasing music. And yeah, just where I'm at right now is just wanting to level up in everything I'm doing, and especially give more and more emphasis to the recording and writing and leading side of
Hmm.
myself. So, in other words, just embrace the artist mentality even more, rather
Right, right.
than just stay as a sideman, which is all fine. But I really feel like I want to be um, in control, or steering something in a certain direction that is
Hmm.
more personal and more intentional. Yeah. So
Nice. Thank you.
that's a
Thank
good
you so much.
summary of
No, no,
the
it's
last
great.
20 years.
That whole timeline, that was amazing. Talking about the different, styles of music, like you moved across, or you even today you move across jazz, R&B, hip hop, funk, psychedelic rock, even meditation music. So tell us what stays constant in your playing, no matter the genre.
Absolutely. I think coming from jazz,
Hmm.
certainly a um a harmonic palette that is rich, I
Hmm.
think enters in whatever situation I'm in. Sometimes I'm adjusting to fit the music, but I am always thinking about what voicings are at my disposal, what color notes I have. So I like adding in that nice level of spice, um, right? Little colors and flavors. Um, I would say that emphasis on groove and how I can groove and play rhythmically on the vibraphone. I
Mm.
think that is also something that remains, like, or that I take with me in whatever situation. All right. So that's going to it really it's for me, it's about precision. It's how I'm striking the instrument and the dynamics that I'm
Mm.
using. It's how I am letting notes ring or not ring. With dead strokes, muted notes, grace notes, accents, all that stuff. Um, so I think over the last, basically since college, I've really been interested in how I can maximize the sort of the axes of expression at my disposal.
Mm.
So yeah, how much can I explore loud and soft, and dense harmony and simple harmony, and fast and slow, and um clustery, and wide, just when you put all those things together, I can really craft um a voice, I suppose, and then
Yeah.
really
Mm.
really make the vibraphone more three-dimensional, right? Because the
Yeah, yeah,
vibraphone,
yeah.
a lot of times you hear it, um outside of jazz at least, as like, all right, here's a melody, or here's this chord that's just ringing, right? But I love doing that, as well as playing as if I was a guitar player or
Mm.
piano player. I would say that a nice way to describe my playing, at least in part, is playing like a piano player on the vibraphone. And I think that that's just come into focus over time. Definitely having played a lot of piano, um, both on gigs and practicing, and at this point I've played piano for about 25 plus years.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, um, the idea of treating mallets like fingers, and the independence of mallets, and then the harmonic language, wide voicings, um, and uh, playing something in the left hand and something in the right hand, and being able to harmonize with block chords, and being able to do inner voices. All these things are more pianistic, or maybe even guitar as well. Um, and it's something I really enjoy doing on the Vibes. And I think there's a lot of exploration that still is yet to be done in this realm.
Mm,
So yeah, I'm super excited about generally finding ways to use instruments or writing music that is different in some way. Maybe it's using instruments in different ways. It's combining sounds in different ways. It's maybe it's doing a certain genre with instruments that are not typically in that
in that,
music.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it can be as simple as just learning or continuing to push the envelope in what the vibraphone can do, right? What sounds can you get out of it? What textures? What rhythms? What grooves? Um, and yeah, that's something that really excites me. So I like to think of myself a bit as like a tinkerer, an explorer, an inventor, you know. And when I feel like I'm doing that, I'm really happy, I would say.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking with the way you compose, the way you think, I have something kind of to add or to ask rather about that. And you did talk about your, you going to Columbia and you went for you got a degree in music over there, and you were also studying computer science. So being a computer science major or minor, has that systems brain changed how you, maybe after the fact, did that systems brain changed how you practice, write, or even built your career after that? Did that?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay,
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I growing up, math was usually my favorite subject, so
okay.
I was into math and reasoning and logic and definitely the more analytical side of music.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah,
theory and ear training and
yeah.
figuring out how it works and how it's put together and being able to hear a song and recognize the chords and the melody and what's happening, right? But I think that's what drew me to wanting to study computer science. What really just happened is I took a programming class, I enjoyed it, took a few more classes, and I was like, hey, I'm on my way to a major. Let's go for a major. Then I burnt out and just did a minor, as well as, like I said, writing music and lyrics for the musical. I, I wouldn't say that my computer science really changed the trajectory of, I don't know, my career or how I thought about music. But I think at the time it was a really cool thing to study, and I really enjoyed
Right.
the programming, especially, and the thinking behind that, and it was just fun. Um, but I think that the way that I've generally approached my life, but especially my career post college is pretty like um you know following my gut, following what's exciting me and
Mm,
like allowing myself to explore certain things. So I've definitely been doing music and in some shape or form in since college or since I mean honestly since I was a kid,
yeah, yeah.
but it hasn't taken a straight line path, and that I would say that's not an uncommon thing in these times, but especially as a jazz musician, um, who has allowed himself to stray away from jazz, to expand outward from it,
Mm,
not to distance myself from it, but to know that like the traditional jazz path um generally feels limiting for me.
mm.
um I've allowed myself, as I mentioned earlier, to explore musical theater and to really bring the vibraphone to any situation and any type of
Your
music,
situation, yeah.
and kind of fuse jazz and improvisation with funk and with R&B and soul and electronic music, that sort
Hmm.
of approach. And something that I enjoy. And it didn't really happen by design. I just, kind of go, I get thrown in certain situations, and I just
Go with
make
the
the
flow,
most of them.
kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but and that's led to a lot of great things. And there is a large component of that I really enjoy: the spontaneity, the mystery,
Mm,
the presence of that. But what I've been thinking about, more so recently, is that, if you just do that and don't actually act on things that you might want to do, might want to get done, or if I imagine somewhere I want to be in 6 months or a year, like going off of the just feeling it out, going with the flow alone, it's not gonna get me there, right? So it's this delicate dance between, like, following my intuition and the opportunities that come, and showing up, but also taking some initiative to steer the ship in a certain direction, but not
in a
being
certain
too,
direction.
I don't want to be too particular or too attached to any one outcome or any one path, because then I'm not going to be able to adapt and see the amazing things that are happening around me, and things that I can be involved with. So
Hmm.
that's why I mean it's kind of, you got to be aware of both sides at once, and I think lately I've been thinking I need to put a little more effort into the planning and the
Planning aspect of it.
the
Yeah.
goals, and
Hmm.
kind of shaping things around what I want, not necessarily what is being thrown at me. Right. So yeah, a healthy amount of both, I think, is what is needed for me. Music is really this connector of people. People all around the world play music, listen to music, engage in music. There's musical traditions and music in all cultures around the world, right? And especially uh jazz is a music that is now a very global music, and there are people from all across the globe playing jazz, and people can come together and they might know the same standards, or they can just play. That's what's incredible about jazz. And so this is my upbringing, and my experience is just being able to play with anyone, even if I have never met them, or even if we don't know the same language.
Hmm.
Um so you mentioned, yeah, I did work with a couple years ago some deaf musicians. Actually, it was a little over a year ago, it wasn't even that long ago. These deaf musicians in Portland who they write music, but they also craft these um sort of audio visual uh structures or components to go along with the music, and they're using the vests to be able to feel frequencies. And so that was super cool to be able to bridge that gap between hearing and non-hearing people. Um but I do love to go to other places in the world and play music there, and to learn from other musicians there, maybe even hear their music on their instruments. For instance, just a month ago, I was in Costa Rica, and I made a trip specifically to
Mm.
hear their marimba music. Marimba is the national instrument of Costa Rica, and they also they have their own, like, folkloric music, their
Hmm.
standard, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just wonderful to soak that in, and to see at this festival I went to, this fiesta in Santa Cruz, this one street that was just lined with all these marimba bands. I'd never seen so many marimba groups in one place, and it was super cool to witness and to see all these players and their style, and to also jam along with them. And what's super cool for me is, because I play marimba and because their music is familiar, I haven't
Hmm.
studied it, but it's familiar enough for me to be able to jam along, because harmonically it's pretty simple, and the forms are quite familiar. I was able to jump in, and I was even invited by one group to play with them at the big concert. and with like, there's like 1,000 people in the audience, and they said, "Oh, you're just gonna come tonight, play one song with us." I ended up playing the whole show with them. It was over an hour long. So that was really, really wonderful, and it felt like I was um really, yeah, connecting the world a bit. Me coming down to Costa Rica from the United States and playing with them is just this cultural exchange. I received so much, and they were also very appreciative of me being there and playing with them. And it definitely inspired me to want to um learn some of that music and that
Right.
style of playing, because I'm really interested in music that features mallet percussion instruments, especially in a melodic or harmonic or rhythmic way. And definitely this music in Costa Rica does that in a great way. I'm inspired also to go to southern Mexico and Guatemala and other Central American countries to
Well, not right now to Southern
no,
Mexico. Don't go right now.
not quite yet. No. But to continue my study, and when I was in Costa Rica, especially, I started to think of all the other places in the world that I want to visit. A few months ago, I was also in Bali, and
Wow,
it was awesome to hear Balinese gamelan.
that's amazing.
It was fantastic. I didn't know much about it. It's not something I'd studied extensively, but to see it up close, it really blew my mind. And I was able to take 2 lessons with master players, one in
Mm,
Gangsa, which is like the really fast one, ding, 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 and just learn a little bit about the muting technique, and also get a Gender lesson. That's one where people are playing with 4 mallets.
nice.
And that was truly remarkable. And I did have a little bit of a uh, head start, I guess, coming from my mallet percussion playing, but really it humbled me very much.
Very cool.
And so, yeah, I would love to continue exploring the world through music, as much
Go
as
to
I
India.
can. Yeah, India, like I just said, when I was in Costa Rica, I literally was like listing out all the places I want to go, and India absolutely is a place I would love to go. My parents went a little over a year ago, actually,
They
on a
did.
3-week trip in India. Yeah, they had a wonderful time. And yeah, hopefully one day I get to travel to India and play music and play with musicians. I really, really love to, any genre really, just to be able to play with musicians that I meet anywhere. It's exciting to me when I'm playing in a new place with new people. And if it's in another country, that's just really, really wonderful. When I was in Costa Rica, I had the chance to play 2 jazz gigs, and
Wow.
yeah, there's some wonderful cats out there, and there's this one place in San Jose that
Hmm.
I think is considered the main jazz club. They have other music too, but it's called Amon Solar, and the basement is called El Sótano. That's usually where they have the jazz.
Uh-huh.
And man, it just, the energy was really electric. Really, really great audience, and
Interesting.
it was wonderful. There's nothing like a packed claustrophobic jazz dungeon. Really, like that's really the best vibe for jazz, and to be able to get that in Costa Rica was really, really wonderful. And I was
It's amazing.
also I had the privilege of doing a master class when I was there at the University of Costa Rica. And so it was about 15 people in the room, some mallet percussionists, some musicians of other instruments, and some non-musicians. And I did about an hour of just demonstration on the vibraphone and a little marimba. But then the second hour, I got everyone in a circle on mallet percussion instruments. And we did kind of a spontaneous, somewhat improvised, but also like I was conducting a bit, percussion ensemble with all these mallet instruments.
So drum / mallet circle kind of.
It was really just mallets though. The
Okay.
only drum was for the last round. We did 3 rounds of this. I actually brought a timpani into the middle, and I was playing the timpani. But otherwise, it was just marimbas, vibraphones, and one xylophone. Um, and I, yeah, it was sort of the first chance I had to um, conduct a group.
Got it.
Not just play I've done a few instances of larger mallet percussion ensemble, but this is the first time I really conducted it. And we built it up one player at a time. And I the first round, I kind of told everyone their part, and then would do some light conducting. And the second round, they were more free to come up with their own part, and we see what happened. And the third, we actually did a version of my piece, "An Angel Will Be With You Shortly." And actually, I'm planning on finally opening up that footage and editing a few videos to post, like either today or tomorrow. So yeah, it was really fulfilling for me and for everyone there. They really, really enjoyed it, and I want to continue doing some of that stuff as well. I think ideally I would be continuing to travel to various places and be able to do concerts, be able to do master classes and recording with all of that stuff. And of course, really soaking up the local culture. I think that's one of the things that was also super special about my Costa Rica trip, is that it was really based around music. Learning about their traditions, and hearing from the local players, and playing with the local players, and doing jazz gigs and doing a master class. But at the same time, I had a full week and a half to get to know people and the place. It wasn't just a tour where I'm I'm in every city like for 1 or 2 days. So I think that was a really special opportunity to get to really feel like I made some lasting connections. And honestly, I'm planning on going to Costa Rica like once a year. Like, I think that makes sense. It's not too difficult to get to from LA, and it's really a wonderful place. And yeah,
That's
why not?
amazing.
Right? Especially because they have
You
this
should.
yearly marimba festival, and yeah, I think it would just be great to continue to go to that and play with the local musicians at their wonderful venue in San Jose. And I know that the scene there is going to continue to grow for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
While you were talking about this, you talked about your single, "An Angel Will Be With You Shortly," right? And that single has really traveled, like streams, views, worldwide audience. So kind of a two-in-one question almost. Like, so when you zoom out 10 years from now, what do you think people were connecting to emotionally in that piece? And going forward, maybe 10, 12, 20 years from now, what do you want your body of work to represent? Not just as a player, but as a creator and builder of community.
Yeah, it's great couple of questions. So the first one, what do I think people saw in it
Connected
or
with,
heard in it?
yeah, emotionally.
Why they connect with it emotionally? Um, you know, I mean, it was such a surprise to me, when it actually happened 2 years ago, and I made it, and it was really, it was the first thing I made that year when I committed myself to being in my studio on on a daily basis and just record. Because to that point, recording was like, I put it on a pedestal. I was like, I'm not ready for it. I need to write the music, and then when it's done, then it's time to record. But I think I felt like I was just delaying the process. When so many musicians, like, their default is being in the studio recording, and my default had just been, playing gigs and getting hired for things and like showing up and collaborating, and that's all great, and I want to keep doing that. But I was like, let's just like simplify this process and just like take the the stakes off of recording. Just be in the studio and make stuff. So that was the very first thing I made. This 43-second ish clip. Made the track in a few hours. I made a demo actually the first day. The next day I re-recorded it, added the glockenspiel, did a few takes of glockenspiel, and then cut the video, posted it, and then moved on to the next. Little did I know that it was going to completely explode. I really was not expecting it. What I noticed, at least in the audiences that it was hitting, it really hit like the spiritual, meditation, yoga, new age, that sort of community, but it also hit like the hip hop and beat, that sort of music, people that are interested in that world, as well as a whole host of other groups. But I think it really it was like a very interesting marriage of meditation and chill music with a beat. Of course, not to mention I was using interesting or different instruments in unexpected ways, right? Generally, people have not seen like this combination of instruments. Vibraphone and the percussion I did was with the microphone. Like I was hitting the vocal shield and with the microphone below it, and I was hitting the vibraphone, and I was using boom whackers and glockenspiel. Like I don't think there's ever been a piece of that configuration, as well as the way I presented it in video form. I think that was also very attractive. But I will say that just because something gets a lot of views, especially a piece of music on Instagram, that doesn't mean that people are going to go stream it. And
right.
I, when I posted the video, I didn't even have the full song. Like I just made it a clip. Like I wasn't making it to make a full song. It was only after a week or so had passed, I was like, oh, you know what? I probably should finish this song and release it as a single. So it took me a little over a month to finish the song and have it posted and everything. And so when it came time to post it about it being released, I posted again. Again, the video got millions of views. Not quite as many as the first time, but still millions of views. And it translated into streams. Or people coming from Instagram. It also, at least on Spotify, there was a good amount of just algorithmic playlists that it worked in my favor. And this was my first foray into having a piece of original music that people resonated with. First piece of music on streaming that got a significant amount of streams. So this like very, very quickly like woke up this part of me that had been maybe not dormant, but I hadn't been focusing on it, which was the artist side of me, right? I would say that generally I've been interested in how I express myself through music and my instruments, but I'd been doing it more on the side of live music and spontaneous music and being hired for recording sessions and whatnot, and also through content, right? Sharing a lot of clips of my playing and other things on social media, and I would say that's a form of artistry, crafting a page through short clips. But this idea of me being a composer and recording artist definitely hadn't been at the forefront, and it was finally coming into focus for me, and it was very inspiring and very motivating. And definitely, 2 years later now, I'm still feeling the urge to follow this, right?
Very good.
But yeah, I think that the piece, it's also, there was a lot of language. There were a lot of comments, right? And even the title itself, "An Angel Will Be With You Shortly," came from a comment which I tried to go back and find, but I couldn't find it. There were 20,000 comments on that post, and I wanted to go back and see. It was in my memory. Like I remember someone doing a comment like, kind of synthesizing the two camps of comments. One was hold music, and the other was like angels and like heaven. And someone said, I'm paraphrasing, but someone was like, um, you know, thank thank you for calling heaven. Hold please, an angel will be with you shortly.
Amazing.
Right, but I'm pretty sure an angel will be with you shortly. Those were the exact words. So that's where the title came from, and I thought it was a perfect way to synthesize. Yeah, it sounds like hold music, right? I got so many comments like that, and then it sounds like some heavenly or angelic sort of sound, and yeah, I think people recognize some sort of spiritual element in the sound
Very
of
cool.
the track, and I've definitely come to realize more lately, the last since like last summer, I would say that a sort of sense of spirituality in my music making, I think has been present all along, but I wouldn't have necessarily realized it or called it by that name. But I think the idea that music making for me, it comes from when it's at its best, it's like channeled pure presence. And whether that's just me by myself or playing with a group, like there's something about finding something and bringing creating something in the moment that is super special, and that's
It's
really
amazing.
what I follow. That's the instinct I follow. That's why I don't generally have interest in playing music that's written for me, especially in like a pit orchestra or anything like that. There's certain opportunities that I would still take, but I know there's some that don't align as much. Even like a giant tour or something with a major artist, I would do it because that's not something I've experienced. But if I had to play the same part every time, I know that's going to get old. It's like it doesn't matter how big or where we're doing or
The
what
joy.
doesn't matter. I'll do it. I'll do it just because like I haven't experienced that yet, and I'm also interested in just new experiences, right? But generally, as an improviser, as someone who really likes when music is coming from feeling, right? That's where my head and heart is at, and I think that piece of music, even though I made it pretty easily and pretty like effortlessly, I think it it was a moment in time at the beginning of the year. Typically at the beginning of the year, I have a sense
It's
of
amazing.
calmness and allowing myself to slow down and let things, not fighting, not being in my own way. And I think that was a moment where I just let something just flow through me, right? And I think all those pieces that I talked about, the instrumentation, the way that I presented it, the sound, the fact that it's using these instruments to achieve a sound that is un it's kind of unidentifiable. Like if you listen to
Uh-huh.
it, you wouldn't expect it to be a vibraphone making the sounds that I'm making. The technique I was using, like all these things, even the way I recorded the kick, which is to put the microphone, that was something that I made up on the spot. I was just like, huh, this might work because I don't have drums in my studio,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
and
And
then
it's
that really kicked off this period of me using my mallet instruments to create a mallet percussion ensemble sound, and then for percussion just using found objects or percussion. And so yeah, this was to go back to this idea of like being an inventor. Like I really enjoyed um feeling like I was on the verge of
yeah.
something and like
And there's
and
joy in it,
exploring
right?
the surf.
Mm,
Yeah,
there's so
absolutely.
much. Yeah, it kind of. I was smiling throughout the last part you said because it reminded me of some of songs me and Suraj have made together, and a couple of them kind of. It just brings back the memories of like how we created it and how we perceived it and how the people kind of took that in, and we didn't expect that, some of the reactions that we got. So I was just kind of all smiles when you were saying that. It kind of
Absolutely.
reminds you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was
I know.
smiling towards the end because it was reminding me of everything you were saying, like we've been trying to do for so long, and then we found some some people people to edit videos or to do things and everything in our own respective music stuff that we do, right? And it's like it reminded me of some of the people I was kind of hiring and everything, and they were so bad. I'm sorry, because you gotta find the right people too. You can hope for all these.
Absolutely. No, and that's one of the reasons why I think I haven't, actually gone and other than like a couple projects, like one-off projects that I've had people work on, um,
Yeah,
I generally I've been really reluctant because one, I am particular with what I'm generally with all the details, and two, I have the skills, especially the video editing skills. Like,
right.
so it's kind of like what I really want is someone that's way better than me, who has
Yeah, because
better
you
gear.
know, if you know your level already, you know,
Right.
like, hey, I can, and you're
Yeah.
spending your time. I
Yeah.
mean, you're spending your money and everything, and hiring someone. I'm like, oh, and the person is kind of just doing the same thing that you could have done in the first place,
Yeah.
and to top it all, like I remember the reason I was smiling towards the end is like I remember a guy, without naming it, took 6 months to do a music video
Mm.
editing for me, and I was like, I could have released probably 3 by then,
No,
even if it took me 2 months.
I hear you, and one of the things that I experienced not too long ago was the agony of having projects, whether it's music or whether it's video, that I just want to share, and
Right.
there's hangups because of whatever reason, and not having, putting it in the hands of someone else. To me, that is a very uh just a bad feeling, and it was really eating away at me,
Yeah.
and I just felt like there was like this buildup of stuff that I just wanted it to be gone, wanted to be
To be
released,
gone.
wanted to
Yeah.
move on. And it's one thing if it's if you're in control, but if someone else is in control, that you have no control, right?
No.
Right. So you're at the mercy of them and their time, their schedule, their
Absolutely. Yeah.
motivation, their talent. Um, and so I've felt like I have collaborated a lot, or at least played with a lot of musicians and
Hmm.
whatnot. But I also feel I have this innate sense of like needing to do everything on my own
Hmm.
as well, and I'm hoping that like when I really find I have found like the right people as well. I have my circle of musicians that I
Yeah.
work with often, but
Yeah.
I still am looking for, especially it's project based. I'm still on the lookout for those people that like it just clicks and it's like for this
It'll happen.
project, like this is it. And yeah, there are a number of examples of that I've fallen into, but now I think it's just like the throttling. It's just I have I'm very eager to like really work hard and to get a lot done, to make a lot of stuff, to share a lot of stuff, to perform a lot. I'm very eager to do all this stuff, but I am also um it it only really happens when I feel it, when it feels
Yeah, you get
aligned.
that inner thing. Yeah.
It's not something that I can think it in my head, but unless it comes down to my body, my heart, my soul, that sort of realm, then it's just going to be an idea. So,
Yeah.
and that's something I've also been thinking I need to work on. Right, is just like kind of showing up even when that spark is not there.
Yeah.
But generally, like the way I've operated and the decisions I've made and what I've ended up doing over the last, since college, I've really just been following my gut, and it definitely hasn't led me to a bad place,
No, no, no. I think it's the time, and when the time is right, and when meet the right people, you just know. You just know,
Yeah.
like you said, it clicks like that.
Yeah.
You just know. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's great. I mean, we wish you all the best, Jake.
Thank you
We
so
wish you
much.
all. Yeah, this
Same
was
to
this was
you.
such a great conversation. Thanks so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate honesty behind your journey, and like the whole journey you took us through. The craft, the curiosity, and the creative intention you bring to your music. Um, and it's just so amazing to talk to you. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. Please go follow Jake on his socials, listen to his music. It's amazing. It's very different than what you may have heard. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone who loves to listen to not only this kind of music, but any music. And please join our community on Discord. The links are in the description. And we will see you next time on the Artist Conversation. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.